studying abroad for masters or MBA makes sense anymore?
Looking at the salaries, just the salaries immediately after MBA, it's not a good way to look at ROI. It's not just a financial investment that you're making. You're making an investment into your career. The real ROI and real impact of that MBA, you'll feel maybe 5-10 years down the line, because you'll be eligible for the kind of roles that you're not eligible right now. You'll be in that closed group where you'll get entry only if you belong to that group. If you don't have that kind of education, you get filtered out from those positions.
So it's still worth it, right?
Definitely worth it. Without MBA, you might not have any risk, the financial risk that you're taking, but the rewards will be very limited. It's not going to be exponential at all.
Welcome to GMAT Hub. If you are someone who's thinking about preparing for GMAT or GRE or want to apply to top B schools around the world or in fact in India, this podcast is for you. We're going to address all your queries, most frequently asked questions in this podcast, so stay tuned till the end. Today, we are here with Mohit Sharma, the CEO and the founder of GMAT Hub, who brings over 12 years of experience working closely with GMAT or GRE students and study abroad applicants. Okay, so instead of jumping into exams straight away, let's start with the bigger picture. Study abroad and career decisions. So,
we have to have 2 points here. So, why MBA? Why people do MBA, especially abroad? 2-3 things. One is people want to have big career jump. Okay, so especially when they feel plateaued in their career at some point. So they feel like this is the only option, and this is a very good option. In fact, most of the people who do MBA, whether it's from India or abroad from the top B schools, they end up changing their industry, roles, and financially also it's very rewarding, definitely. And in longer term, let's say over a 10-15 year horizon, the returns or let's say the benefits are really, really huge. Okay, so definitely this is the primary reason why people do MBA, and most of them are successful in achieving their goals, whatever they want to do, financial, personal, professional, every way. Okay, so this is what we have primarily. Okay, now should they do from India or abroad? There are many factors. I think in our conversation we'll delve deeper into what should be the location. If it is from India, why India? What should be the objectives if you're looking for India? And if you're looking abroad, there are different markets like US, Canada, Europe is a big market, Singapore. These are primary markets where people go for MBA. And every option or every location has its own, let's say, pros and cons. What do you want to achieve later? It all depends on that. And that's a big decision to make. It takes time to decide on that, actually.
Yeah, that brings me to my first question. A lot of students has asked this question: is studying abroad for masters or MBA makes sense anymore? Because there's a lot of competition, and MBA's ROI is going down, or so to say, it is going to decrease in the future. So what do you think?
Again, if you look at the current factors, so people are apprehensive about many things, especially the visa regime in US. And let's say economic factors, economies, people think it'll be a little hard for them to find jobs, and especially given the investment is huge. Okay?
Exactly.
So, again, 2-3 things here. Okay, broader points. One, when we say economy is down, if you look at the, I wouldn't say it's down. It's uncertain, definitely. Especially the AI thing, people are losing jobs left, right, and center. Given we are getting into a huge investment, if you don't have any scholarships, if you go to US, we're looking at 1.5 to 2 CR of investment. That's a huge investment.
Exactly.
In India, if you do MBA, it's maximum 50 lakhs from ISB. There's no other. We don't have to invest more. Okay. So if you look at ROI, okay, I'll give a simple calculation to look at ROI. If your salary is, let's say, 70-80% of what you invested, for example, let's say. If you invest close to 40 lakhs, 45 lakhs in ISB, if you're getting a 35 lakhs of, let's say, CTC, and which is the average in ISB, 35 lakhs is broadly the average. That's a pretty good ROI. Okay, you can pay off your loans in 2-3 years easily. Maximum, let's say 4-5 years. It depends on your lifestyle and everything. If you go to US, let's say if you're spending, the tuition fee of the top colleges in the range of around $130-150K. Okay, so if you are getting a salary which is in the range of 100,000, so that's a pretty good investment. I mean, pretty good ROI on your investment. And again, let's say if you get scholarship, the ROI increases exponentially. And when we look at ROI, looking at the salaries, just the salaries immediately after MBA, it's not a good way to look at ROI, okay? Because it's not just a financial investment that you're making. You're making an investment into your career, okay?
Exactly.
And the real ROI and real impact of that MBA, you'll feel maybe 5-10 years down the line, because you'll be eligible for the kind of roles that you're not eligible right now. Okay, you'll be in that closed group, if you say, okay, where you'll get entry only if you belong to that group. Otherwise, you don't even find an entry. And if you're looking at top positions, it's full of people who did MBA from top colleges. Okay, so if you're looking at, it's like a filter. If you don't have that kind of education, you get filtered out from those
Right.
positions. And obviously, if you reach senior management, obviously you get plateaued because the positions are very limited. And if you don't belong to that group, it qualifies you for those top positions. And it's very, very rare for a person to get those top positions without that kind of an education. So ROI is, we have to look broadly. Do some research, go to LinkedIn, see the top positions, the top CEOs or CFOs that they hold, what kind of education background that they had. At some point, they feel that they need to get into that kind of education, be it India, be it abroad. Okay, so especially if you look at, let's say, top 10 B schools in US or Europe, and from India also, you'll find a lot of, majorly those people from IIM backgrounds, if they're not coming from a family lineage. And even if they're coming from family lineage, they do go to those colleges like Harvard, Stanford. Those, for example, Anand Mahindra, I think he went to Stanford or something. So even they go for those kind of colleges because they know it helps. Okay, so that's the broader aspect of MBA. People who are really sincere about that, they need to invest time, and it definitely pays off. And people who know that impact, they are very serious and very sincere about it, and they want to go to top colleges, come what may. They're ready to bear that cost, that, time,
Yeah,
mental effort, everything. So they are
exactly.
ready to bear that.
So it's still worth it, right?
Definitely worth it.
Worth it. Okay.
Because if you look at the opportunity, because it has to be a comparison, right? Without MBA, you might not have any risk, the financial risk that you're taking. But the rewards will be very limited. I mean, without MBA, it's going to be very straightforward line. It's not going to be exponential at all.
Okay, let's say someone decides to go abroad
Right.
or want to do MBA from here in India. Which masters or MBA specializations are currently in high demand? Like, in which field should they go?
So we'll have to divide into two parts, masters and MBA.
And
These are
MBA.
two different things.
Right.
So if you're looking for masters, especially people who go for MS courses, technical courses, I mean, definitely AI is the thing in vogue. So anything which has to do with AI, definitely, right now it's something in fashion. Okay, going forward, how will it play around? Nobody knows, but definitely AI should be in the scheme of your things. Okay? So that's for masters. Okay. Any other field, I mean, if you really want to grow in your field, you can definitely go for that. And it depends on what specific industry you're coming from. Somebody, let's say, I mean, computers, it has to be AI related somehow. Okay. And if somebody is not from computers, let's say, then let's say somebody is trying to go to MIT. So MIT is known for computers, but it's also known for robotics and all this automation and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So because automation is going to be there for sure, they can definitely go that. Okay. So you have to capture the trend, which is going to be there, which is going to shape the industry, their respective industry next 10 years. That's the thing. Now if it comes to MBA. Now MBA caters to 2-3 different industries, definitely, especially if you're an international student. Okay. So if you're in India, you want to go to US or Europe, there are 2-3 fields. One is consulting, definitely. Consulting is like, 40% people are absorbed in consulting. I mean,
Exactly, yeah.
any day, right?
Right.
It's been there for last 10 years and I don't see it changing, too far. Next is financial sector. I mean, mergers, acquisitions, venture capital, private equity. That has been the case from last, I mean, if we talk about the top colleges, private equity and VC firms, they have been the highest paying sectors for MBAs, more than the financial industry, I mean, the financial sector. So that's one. And third, it's always it's an evergreen thing. You want to get into a product kind of a role, product strategy role,
Product
or
management,
for
project
any industry for
management.
that matter.
Right.
Any emerging industry will hire from top B schools. Okay, so these are 2-3 industries. I mean, it's a very subjective thing as to what industry you want to get into. It has to be connected to what you have done, your education to some extent. It can't be totally different from what you have done already. Okay, it has to be linked, and your goals have to reflect that in terms of your applications. Okay, now having said that, it can be open to the extent where the new top roles are going to be. It's always a changing situation. Right now, this is the situation that we discussed. Pretty much, that's how it is going to be.
Right. So, like, how to get into these top B schools? Because I feel like if we are doing MBA or masters,
Right.
it has to be from a top B school, or that is in the vogue.
Right,
Because if
right.
you are going to, invest so much of your time, 2 years of your life
And money.
and money, exactly. So it has to be from a top B school.
Right. I mean, it has to be worth
Right.
it. Simple.
So otherwise, it won't work, right?
Yeah, I'll not give the kind of returns, and it'll leave you unsatisfied with what you achieved later. So if you talk about India, so there are two kinds of programs we're talking about. One is that typical 2-year program from IIMs and the top 10, top 15 B schools. So you need to crack CAT. Okay.
Exactly.
CAT or ZAT maybe for some colleges. XLRA is the only top college. XLRA and SPJAN. Through GMAT, you can target that 20-month YL program of ISB and SPJAN. This is what you have to do for 2-year program. People know, majorly about that. It takes 7-8 months at least to prepare, so you need to work accordingly. Now, when it comes to 1-year program from India, it's majorly ISB. I mean, that's the top program at the top of the mind for anyone. And entry into that program is through GMAT only, GMAT or GRE, both. And then we have SPJAN, which is a tier 1 program, but its 1.5-year program is not that big in terms of rewards. Okay. Then we have IIM's 1-year program, the PGPX program. If you have like 5-6 years of work ex in India and you want to move to a bigger role in consulting and product, definitely this is a go-to program. I mean, so ISB and top 3-4 IIM's PGPX programs in India. So entry through that into those things, ISB accepts GMAT, GRE both. So that's one thing. IIMs primarily accept GMAT. Some of them accept GRE also. So in terms of the application cycle, in terms of what duration you have to prepare before, typically the preparation should start like 1 year before more than 1 year before the program starts. Okay. So for example, the round 1 applications for these colleges happen in August, September. So you must be ready with the score. Score itself takes like 3-4 months. So you have to start in April, May, to be on the safer side. I mean, if you don't want to chase the deadlines. And applications start in August, September. I mean, the deadlines start. Then you have round 2 applications. It's a longer cycle. So typically 1 year should be like your let's say your preparation time when you think of doing MBA and start preparing for the entire thing, especially the test prep thing. Now, similar thing is there for abroad. US is typically a 2-year program. Europe and Singapore is typical 1-year program. But in terms of the process, it's quite similar. I mean, I don't see major changes or major differences in the process. Again, the round 1 applications start in August, September. You have to be ready with GMAT score. Around half of the international people start or apply in R1, round 1. Roughly half of them, 40%, apply in R2, which is, Jan first week typical. I mean, for a majority of the colleges. So the process and the timelines are almost same. Okay, it's an intense process. It's a time-consuming process. You have to be mentally very prepared and hold your horses and be stable in that process. It's an intense process. It takes time. It takes a lot of mental bandwidth, so to say. Okay, so this is typically the process. 1 year is something that we need.
Right. Okay. So when it comes to MBA specifically, many students doubt whether their profile is good enough to apply, like
Right.
whether they have the, targeted experience
Right.
in their field.
In terms of companies and
Yeah,
roles.
exactly. So, what kind of work profiles or backgrounds do top B schools look for in
Right.
an MBA applicant?
Right. So one, a normal thing that comes to mind is people from consulting background, Big Four and, other, let's say, boutique consulting
Yeah.
firms. Uh, Typically 30 to 40% people who enter into MBA are from that background. Okay. So if you're from that background, any college you can target. I mean, in terms of the work profile needed. So, in such kind of a profile, I always advise people apply in R1 and maximum by R2, not by R3, because R3 is like more of a diversity thing. So it's like a quota of 35 to 40% people who will be coming from consulting background. So that quota typically is filled by R2, like a round 2 application. So if you're coming from that background, apply by R2 latest. Then the 2, 3 very, very sought after profiles in top big B schools, let's say Harvard, Stanford, those kind of colleges we're talking about. Okay. So if you're coming from a, let's say, social impact sector, okay. So let's say you worked in Niti Aayog. Okay. If somebody worked in Niti Aayog for 2, 3 years and worked on some really good projects, or let's say some government ministry. So let's say there was one guy who worked in Ministry of Rural Development as a fellow. So those people are involved in policy making that has the potential to impact millions of lives. Those programs are really sought after programs.
Okay.
So if you are from that kind of background, you do a decent score in GMAT, GRE, and obviously you have to work properly on your applications. Those people are almost a guarantee, in terms of admit from top B schools, including scholarships as well.
Including scholarships.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the guy I was taking example of, he got into Stanford with full scholarship. Stanford is the most difficult college to get into, just because it has lesser number. The acceptance rate is like 5%. 10,000 people apply, or around 450, 500 is the batch strength. So 5% people get into that. So, and getting admit plus scholarship. So you can imagine what kind of, the kind of profile or the
Right.
kind of impact the profile can make. Okay. Other than that, they want to see achiever, okay, a consistent achiever throughout their life. The B schools, okay, in the candidate. So if achieved anything of significant impact in your life, be it sports, music, anything. For example, somebody played, let's say, any sports at national level. If somebody is an Olympian, they'll pick him. They'll offer an Uber ride for that person. It's that easy. Okay, but somebody, let's say, played at national level, it shows consistency, focus, achiever. It's much easier to get into that. Okay, if you can't show any achievement at work level, you have to show it at some other area and some significant achievement. It's not that I played 10 tournaments at state level. It doesn't cut the thing. Okay, so showing achievement in any field, that matters. Okay. Now, if you're not from any of those backgrounds, let's say so-called high-impact backgrounds, if you're a normal, if you work, let's say a lot of CAs apply to those colleges, a lot of CAs get into that. Okay. So whatever role you are doing right now, after that, you have to choose some significant impact that you want to make in terms of your post-MBA goals, let's say, okay, long-term, short-term. For example, somebody wants to get into sustainability, risk management, managing uncertainty, those kind of things. You have to show that you have the skills to, transferable skills to that kind of a role
Yes.
from your existing role. So it all boils down to your applications. That's a biggest part of your entire journey, the college essays. So these are the profiles that, end of the day, these profiles do matter, but you have to portray it in the way that admission committee wants to look at. That's another significant part of the entire process.
So work experience is mandatory if you want to do
Yeah.
MBA
So
or
if you want to do
masters.
MBA from abroad, majorly if you want direct entry, you need to have 2, 3 years of work ex minimum. When I say direct entry, there is another kind of entry which is an early entry, which is for a deferred MBA program like Stanford has a 2+2. So if you are in final year of your college, you can apply for MBA. So if they give you admit, you have to work for 2 years before, minimum 2 years before you enter into MBA program. So only for that program, deferred MBA, you don't need work ex. You need to be in final year of your college. It can't be that you completed your college and then you want to apply. No.
Okay.
You'll not be eligible for that program. You have to be in final year and you apply at that time only. You get an admit, you work for 2-3 years, and I mean minimum 2 years, and then you join the college. So, but you need to have work ex before you start your MBA. End of the day.
All
For
right.
MBA, for masters, like MIM program, Masters in Management, and other masters program, Masters in Finance, Masters in Marketing, you can have 0 to 2 years of work ex. Zero means you can pretty much enter there after the college. So you need to have internships, all those things help. Not full-time work ex, but some small internships and those kind of things.
Since we're talking about MBA and MIMs,
Right.
so which one is better? Should we do MBA or MIM?
See, MBA is always the bigger sibling. MIM is always the younger sibling. Now, it's not that the bigger sibling is better or the younger sibling is not so good. It's not the case. It depends on what you want to do. So if you already have 2-3 years of work ex and then you're planning to think of a master's education, then you have to go for MBA. Simple. Okay. Because the day you start thinking about MBA and then the day you enter, it's a 1 year lag time.
Yeah.
So if you already have 2-3 years of work ex, by the time you enter, you have 3 to 4 years of work ex. So you have to go for MBA. MIM is for those people who don't want to work for 3-4 years before starting an MBA or before starting a master's. So somebody did college and they straight away want to enter into that and start their career after that, then MIM is for you. So Masters in Management. So first of all, how is it different from other master's program? So if you do Masters in Finance, Masters in Marketing, or Masters in Supply Chain, let's say, those are very narrow program in terms of their scope. So Masters in Finance simply means you're doing it in finance. Okay. But MIM is similar to an MBA where you can do multiple specialization or any specialization that you want that the college offers. Most of the colleges offer multiple specializations, and you can choose your specialization once you enter the college. Depending upon how you see the thing, how you see that department, those courses, those professors, so you can choose to opt for any specializations once you enter. So I wouldn't say one is good or bad. MIM is for those people who don't want to spend 3-4 years before entering. MBA is for those people who have already
Salaries
spent.
are the same in both the cases.
No, not really. I mean, obviously, if you have like 4-5 years of work, obviously your salary offered would be
that
higher.
makes sense,
I mean, you'll be going for roles which offer higher salary. So salary definitely 30-40% difference would be there. Definitely.
So let's assume that a student wants to do MIM right after graduating,
Right.
and he doesn't have any work experience or
Right.
so. So can he be posted to a superior level, senior level position?
You don't get senior level positions, you get entry level
Okay.
positions.
Entry level,
Definitely. But you can target really top industries like consulting, private equity, venture capital. You can target any industry for that matter. I mean, the industry that hires from that college. So, definitely you can, but you'll not get senior positions for sure.
Okay.
I mean, that's not going to happen. I mean, without work ex, you want to jump to a level which needs 10
makes
years of work
sense.
ex, doesn't work.
It makes sense. So, how can someone stand out? Because a lot of people are applying for MBA and masters nowadays, so it's very common. How can one stand out?
So, see, what you've done at school or college level, you can't change that, first of all.
Exactly.
Okay? So, assuming that thing is fixed, okay, if you have not done anything significant at that level, what can you do now? That's what we're talking about. So, they want to see impact and achievement and handling complex stuff and seeing your leadership, demonstrating your leadership capabilities. That's what the colleges want to see. Simple. Okay. In one line, this is what they want to see. Can you show it through your work? That's all that matters at this point. So you can go for roles which are complex. So, for example, if you work in let's say a startup which is trying to solve some new problem, that's what we call a startup. Trying some novel idea, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay. So a novel idea means it's not been done before. So it's going to be more complex. So if you do a complex work, that adds or that shows your qualities of managing uncertainty and complex problems. Second, showing leadership qualities. So leading a team, it has many factors. How did you help your subordinates grow into their roles? Those kind of things. What's your leadership style? Do you are you authoritative or are you, let's say, appreciated by your subordinates? So you have to actively engage in those leadership let's say assignments. And again, the uncertainty and complexity of the project, that's what matters. You can choose the industry which is like a trending industry for next 5-10 years. So that's all you can do at that point. You can work at some not for profit, let's say volunteer work. So they want to see that you care for the community, you want to give back to the community, which always helps. I mean, it's not a big factor, very big factor as of now, but
Yeah, because everyone is doing the same
everybody
thing.
can do that.
Yeah.
So it does, help at least, let's say, I mean, out of 10, it gives you 2 points. Simple. Think of it this way. So it's, 2 is better than 0.
Yeah,
Simple,
exactly.
Or you can work in non-profit or impact sectors. Like you can work for Bill and Melinda Gates, and as I mentioned earlier, Niti Aayog. If you work in those kind of companies, there's this girl who is working in, let's say, impact investment. So a private equity or venture capital firm which invests into companies or startups which are into affordable healthcare.
Okay.
So you care for that sector because, let's say, your goals align with what the company is doing. So you can choose to do those kind of things.
You have to make a solid story, like why you're doing what you're doing,
yes.
right?
And story doesn't need to be a flimsy story. It has to be a real story.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can't make fool of the admission committee that way.
Right. So another big fear students have is like what happens after MBA or masters. Do they get a job? Do they not get a job? How does the job market look like after studying abroad?
Right. So we'll have to go location wise. We'll have to be specific about what location you're into.
US, UK, Europe.
Because things are different. In US,
Yeah.
things are different. UK, Singapore, things are different.
Right.
For example, if you go to Singapore, now Singapore is a small market. So you're not going to get senior roles, or let's say really big roles, which manage Singapore's economy, which are related to Singapore's economy only. So if you're
Okay.
looking at senior roles, you're looking at headquarters of Southeast Asian businesses. Okay, a lot of headquarters are located in Singapore. For example, Flipkart was listed in Singapore at that point, at some point. Okay, so you are looking at those kind of roles. So it's very limited kind of roles that you're getting. Otherwise, you'll have to move out of Singapore. Might have to go to Australia or Europe or Saudi or Gulf countries for that matter. And now, if you look at US itself is like a big ocean of opportunities. No country can offer, in terms of numbers, the opportunities that US offers. Every state has its own speciality. For example, if you go to Bay Area, I mean the California, Los Angeles area, it has a lot of tech companies. First of all, it has a lot of private equity. Okay, so if you go to Stanford, okay, a similar thing. You'll go to a lot of private equity opportunities, VC opportunities, and let's say if you go to Boston, so that's a healthcare hub. So you'll be jostling for healthcare kind of companies. If you go to Texas, it's hub for let's say energy companies, energy and manufacturing. So you'll be going to operations roles in those kind of companies. So US definitely offers maximum opportunities in terms of number of opportunities. If you go to UK and Europe for that matter, opportunities are going to be limited in terms of what you can do. You can primarily get into consulting, finance, majorly these companies, I mean these kind of roles. Maybe you can land a job in Amazon for strategy or operations, but that's pretty much what your limitations are. A lot of people from Europe go to Gulf countries, so that's another let's say avenue to move to Gulf and pay off your loans in 1 or 2 years because there is no income tax. So that's it depends on what matters to you. If you want to settle in some country, let's say, then you go to, let's say if you want to settle in US, you go to US, simple. Settle
Right.
in US or Canada is you go to US or Canadian colleges. If you want to settle in Europe, obviously you go to Europe, okay? But I mean, if you want to just work for 2-3 years and come back to India or your native place, then pretty much every place is okay for you. It's just that you have to manage that. You can do it in 2-3 years. You can recoup your investment and come back to India with a fresh start. And it's majorly a fresh start once you come back to India. So you must be mentally prepared for that, and you must be ready to navigate that job market that way.
Right. So getting a job is a very far-fetched thing.
Right.
The first thing is like how to manage the cost of MBA or masters. And I think for most of the students, scholarships is the only way. How?
It's
I mean,
the way.
Exactly, the only.
Not
I
the
would-
only, it's the best way. I
Yeah,
would
the
say.
best way possible.
Right.
So how can people get increase their chances to get a scholarship from top B schools?
Top B schools, you have to show your achievements. Simple. There's no other way. Okay. If you want a need-based scholarship, I mean, when you say you have to show your achievements, we're talking about merit-based scholarship. Okay. They like your profile. They want to offer you scholarship. So you have to show it in through your workx. Okay. And your profile, many factors that can affect. So let's not get into those details at this point. But you have to show it that way. Another option is if you, let's say, get multiple admits from colleges. So let's say you got it from INSEAD and let's say a Cambridge or Oxford. So you can show Cambridge or Oxford that you got an admit from INSEAD. Now you can kind of negotiate the scholarship part with those colleges.
Now,
that
that's very
works.
clever.
Not clever, that's how the things work. Okay. So you negotiate. You have a better offer, why should I come to you? Simple. Okay. So people can get some scholarship rather than zero. People can increase their scholarship. They have already got, let's say, 30-40% scholarship, then get it to 60-70 or maybe 100% also. So that's how it works. Need-based scholarship is totally different. The a college or the university should be offering that need-based scholarship. A lot of them do not.
Okay.
If you need need-based, you have to go to third-party endowments and you'll have to show your ITR and you'll have to show that you actually need it. Simple.
Okay.
So that's how the scholarship scenario works. And a lot of colleges have their scholarship essays where you show that why you deserve scholarship. And a lot of that happens once you get an admit. So once you got an admit, then you apply to third-party endowments that you deserve scholarship. You got an admit. Now I need scholarship. So this is how scholarship works.
Okay.
And other than scholarship, then you'll have to finance it from your own. I mean, savings, loan, or those kind of things. A lot of people do that. People who do not get scholarship, that's the only way for them. And they're doing it. Simple. Okay. And obviously, it'll take 3-4 years to recoup that once you get a decent role. And that's pretty much about it.
Okay, it's my personal question. Like, what do you think? Which country do you think is the best right now to go to for MBA or master's?
No, there is no. I mean, I don't have a good answer to your question, first of all. Okay. So it depends on your objectives. If you want to settle to a country, obviously you go to that country for education. Now, if you're open to that, I mean, let's say you are okay settling in US, you're okay to settle in Europe, then you decide as to what is your threshold in terms of your financial investment. For example, in US, it's a 2-year MBA. So you add like 25 lakhs to extra to your lodging and boarding. Your staying cost. Okay, so Europe is 1 year, and the fees is also lesser because it's 1 year MBA. So, for example, in Europe, the top B schools, other than INSEAD and LBS, the fees is comparatively much lesser than what you get in US or what you have to pay in US. So, if financial investment is a consideration, you go to Europe. Then there's certain sectors, for example, sustainability is a big, ESG goals. This is a big thing in Europe. So you go to Europe if you are looking for those kind of roles. And again, many people just go to Europe because they want to land a job in Gulf countries. So there are many factors at play. It depends on your objectives and what you want to invest. Simple.
Okay.
There's no fixed answer. There's no good answer to that. Okay. I mean, my personal choice could be different from anyone else's.
Yeah, that's
simple.
That's very subjective. Yeah.
Very subjective. Depends on the person's situation.
So do you think the US job market right now is very good? What do you think about it?
Right now, things don't look that good. Okay, but people who are into the US colleges as of now, they're getting internships as well. They're getting jobs as well. Now, see, you might have to compromise on your salary. There's instead of 130 or 150K salary, you might have to settle for, let's say, 100K. Okay, which is fine. Business cycles will always be that way. The seasonality would be there in terms of, the business cycle. So you can't really predict that. You can't really control that. So, but you will get a decent job for sure in a decent role. And it also depends, job finding in US and Europe. It's not a very straightforward thing that the company will come to the campus and no. You have to network with people. So you have to compete with others in that networking itself. Networking with alumni who are into those companies.
So is it difficult to get a job in US right now? Would you suggest people to go to US?
Yes, the number of applications have only increased in US colleges this year. Yes. I think it was 13-14% higher this year.
Even after that
in round
situation.
1, yeah. And with round 1, the situation was very dire. H1B, 100,000 fees for H1B. Still, the number of applications went up.
Still,
So people are going up.
people are taking risk.
They don't see it as a risk. Simple. I mean, they think they can get a good opportunity. Companies are hiring. They talk to people. They talk to alumni. They say that situation is not that bad. It's is as good as it was earlier because this H1B. These kind of things are more of political decisions. Things will settle, going forward, and they're ready to take the chances.
So it's okay to go to US right
Yep,
now. It's okay.
totally fine.
People
I
are
don't see
getting
any
job.
big difference as of now.
Okay.
See, if the market crashes, that's a different game
Yeah,
altogether.
I mean,
Then it crashes everywhere. It's not just US.
exactly.
If US crashes, everything crashes, at least for some time.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so one last question before we move on to exams
Right.
and all. Age is something many people stress about. What's the ideal age to pursue an MBA? Is it ever
ideally,
too late?
I mean, let's dig a little deeper into that conversation. Ideally, the average work ex in terms of number of years in colleges is like 5 to 6 years. So if you are in that kind of a zone, then pretty much it's easy to justify why do you want to do MBA at this point. Okay, because you'll have to justify why do you want to do MBA at this point right now. What is your compelling reason to do that? So if you want to go there after 2 years, if you have good reason, I mean, if you can justify that, if you can, logically prove it, it's fine. If you have 10 years, I mean, because the range in B schools is like 3 to 10 years, 3 to 15 years. So there are maybe 5-10% people who had more than 10 years of work ex before they enter MBA. So even those people are going there. So if you have to just show that this is why this is the right time for you to pursue an MBA. So it all boils down to your applications, what you write and what research you do, and you have to have a compelling story.
Yeah, because
That's
I've seen people doing MBA around 40, 50 age.
50 is, I
much.
wouldn't go to that extent.
Yeah.
50
But
because
people
after,
do it just because they are curious or
they do it after,
they just
between
want to do
35 to
it.
40. A lot of
Yeah.
people do that. Okay. They have to show, I mean, that why do you want to do MBA at this point? How does it align to your goals?
Exactly.
Simple. And why do you need an MBA to pursue your goals?
right.
That's what it boils down to. Simple.
Okay, so now that we have spoken about application, study abroad, let's
Right.
talk about something that is very confusing for most of the students. Entrance exams, GMAT, GRE, CAT, SAT, and all that. So students in India especially keep comparing Indian exams
Right.
with international ones. Like
Right.
we often compare GMAT with CAT, GRE with GMAT, CAT, and all
Right.
these things. So a lot of students are confused between CAT and GMAT.
Right.
So, how are these two exams different, and who should choose which exam?
So, I mean, one thing is very clear. If you want to pursue 2-year MBA in India, I think you should go for CAT, right? Because you have the top options are there.
Right.
The tier 1 colleges, other than ISB and SPJAN, you don't have any other options, after GMAT. So, you go to CAT if you want to crack IIMs and those colleges. Now, for abroad, it's a very clear thing. You have to go for GMAT or GRE. GMAT, GRE both are fine for abroad colleges. Now, which exam suits you? Let's say a lot of people come to us after CAT. CAT didn't go well. Now we want to try GMAT or GRE. So that's a very simple go-to thing for them. They want to get a good score and crack a good college. So in terms of time requirement, GMAT takes lesser time. Okay. In terms of complexity, GMAT is less complex because majorly of the maths part. Maths in CAT is really, really tough. Okay. It has been tough, and LRDI section of CAT is really, really chaotic, I would say. Okay. GMAT is much more structured. I mean, pretty much what exactly is going to be there in the exam in terms of, the type of content, type of questions. And if you want to crack GMAT, you need to give like 3-4 months easily. Okay. The day you start and the day you get a score, depending upon, let's say you start from scratch, you need to give 3-4 months. Simple. Now, if somebody is from IIT background, maths is really sorted out, they can get a good score. A decent score, let's say 90th percentile score in 2 months also. I've seen people getting that. But if you're really looking at 99th percentile score, you're going to give 3-4 months easily. It's not going to happen. You need to be a genius to do it in 2 months. I'm yet to see that genius. Never seen it.
So we have talked about CAT versus GMAT. Now, what's the difference between between GMAT and GRE?
So one, if I have to go with one maxim, if you are not so good in maths, if you feel maths is a weak area, go for GRE. And if you can handle maths very well, if you think you are very good at maths, then you go to GMAT. The reason being, the maths level in GRE is much lesser, the difficulty
Okay.
level. And another most important factor actually is the data insight section in GMAT. Uh, I wouldn't say it's very maths heavy, but people who are not so good at maths, they really struggle with that section. Because of the nature of that section, the nature of questions, you really don't understand what maths you use, how to use, those kind of things. It's very simple maths, but what exact point would be required, it's difficult to arrive at. So your thought process would be much, much longer, and time management in that section goes through the roof. Okay. So pretty much that's what it boils down to. Otherwise, colleges, adcoms are really indifferent to the kind of or the exam that you take. GMAT, GRE both are accepted. If you're not so good at maths, go to GRE. Otherwise, go to GMAT.
So
That's how it
GMAT
is.
also requires a pretty good understanding of maths, right?
Yes, comparatively compared to GRE. Yes.
And as compared to CAT exam.
CAT is different level of maths. So if you think you flunked in CAT because of maths, then you can do much better in GMAT. Much, much better.
Okay.
So it's a very simple answer that way.
So I think there are two ways of taking GMAT exam, online and test centers. Which one
Right.
would you recommend and why?
Uh, I mean, there's no difference between the two exams per se. I mean, you can pretty much get same stuff, same level of questions, same difficulty level. I've seen some people who get little, they panic a bit going to a different environment, let's say test center environment. They were doing much better in mocks, but they didn't do so well in the actual exam. And I've seen them doing better in the online at home version of the exam because of lack of anxiety. You're more comfortable in your home setting. So otherwise, there is no difference. Some Indian colleges like ISB, they don't accept the at-home version
Okay.
because of reasons best known to them.
Yeah.
So otherwise, there is no difference. Okay, I would simply suggest go to center if you're not that uncomfortable going to a new setting, new environment. So
Okay.
this is what I would prefer.
Right. So do you think universities would waiver GMAT or GRE?
If you are banking on waivers, I wouldn't say that's a very good strategy because top colleges,
They don't.
they rarely, I mean, you need to have a stupendous profile.
Okay.
I mean, they're willing to take you at any day. You should have that kind of profile. I mean, if you're an Olympian, you can pretty sleep all day pretty much, and they still will,
I mean,
take you.
that's a very,
So the bar is really high.
Yeah, very high.
Bar is really high if you want to look for waivers. But if you look for colleges outside top 20, you can go for waiver, but you have to justify why you're not going for GMAT. Others are coming with GMAT with similar profile. What's the special thing for you? Why are you not going for the exam? You have to justify it.
So students shouldn't be really dependent on GMAT or GRE waiver thing.
I mean, if you are very, very dependent on that, you have a strong reason, it's fine. Otherwise, go for exam. Get some score. I mean, spend
Okay.
2-3 months, get some score so that we can have, we can still justify why we couldn't get a good score. We didn't have the time to prepare and all those things. But not taking the exam is not really a good strategy.
So are there any top universities that, accept students without taking a GMAT or GRE or CAT?
Forget about the top 10 colleges for that
Okay.
matter. In India, though, nobody accepts that. I mean, no
Okay.
top colleges will do that. Abroad, you'll have to go to, beyond top 15 to, even have a chance for that. You can have like 5-10% people in the class, but for international people, you'll have to show a standardized test score. I mean,
Okay.
I would simply suggest don't look for that. I mean, if you have a score, use that. I mean, if you don't have a score, go for a score and then use that. The chances are very less that you'll get a good college without a score.
Okay, can an average student who isn't very good at maths score a really good score in GMAT or GRE?
Yep. I mean, you have to be focused, consistent, and be very sincere about it. It shouldn't be an experimental thing for you that we'll see what happens. If you go with that approach and you are not good at maths and other stuff, then it's a 50-50 chance. But if you're really sincere, you're ready to put in hours, then definitely you can get a decent score, decent enough for really, really good colleges. So I mean, if you have to do it, you did well in academics in 10th and 12th, you can pretty much get it. Simple.
So yeah, let's now talk about preparation because this is
Right.
where most of the students either win or
Right.
lose.
Right.
Let's address a very honest concern
Hmm.
first. If someone is weak
Hmm.
in maths
Right.
again or academics, should they still take GMAT or GRE?
They have to, first of all. Now the question is, how should they do it? Okay.
Yeah, how should they do it?
What should be the method? Okay.
Right.
Let's say you are not very good at maths or you're not good at maths at all. Okay. You have to go through the basics. You have to really be very conscious, taking notes and everything, ready to give few months to it before you jump to the real crux of it,
How
taking mocks.
much? How much time?
So if you're not comfortable with maths, you need to give like 3-4 months in fine tuning your concepts and basics. And after that, once you get that confidence, then you start taking mocks and another 1 to 2 months. Okay, but if you're already good at maths, 3.5 months is good enough for you. Because then you're not working on the real basic stuff. Then you're working on the tricks and techniques of GMAT and how to crack the exam. You're talking about that situation now, that stage. Okay, so it's doable for every kind of student. There are very, very few who can't do 1/2 plus 1/3 in a easy way. That's a different ballgame altogether, but there are very, very few people like that. Almost everybody that we encounter, except maybe less than 1%, they are good enough to take GMAT or GRE for that matter. So anybody can take it practically.
Okay, what do most students get wrong in preparing GMAT or GRE? Do they
Uh,
tend to repeat the common mistakes or repeat?
There are certain commonalities
Yeah, okay.
in what people don't do versus what people do. So first thing is consistency. You have to be consistent. If you're not consistent, more likely you're not going to get a good score. Simple. Okay. But once you're consistent, let's say, then you have to be very careful that you're using the right methods and techniques. Okay. So what works, you have to be really conscious about that. What works for a certain kind of problem or for a certain section, and you have to stick with that. What a lot of people do is, at the initial stage, they just go with what they know, and it's a very time-consuming process. The approaches are, let's say, obsolete and outdated. Now, once you clear that stage, let's say, okay, you've gone through the content and now you're in that, test-taking mode and taking mock test and timed test, then you have to be very careful about your progress because you feel that progress is very slow. And, first initial 2-3 mocks, people just want to quit. Now, this is where the make or break thing happens. You have to delve deeper. You'd have to get into very deep analysis of mocks and tests in terms of what mistakes you're making, what topics to work upon. Are you moving in the right direction? Because a lot of people don't even know whether they're doing right or not. I mean, whether going in the right direction or
Right.
not. So this is where people quit with a not so good score versus people who continue doing and reach a great score and reach their peak. Basically, not everybody can get a 755 or a 900 percentile score. So
Right.
reaching your peak, that's where people. That's what people don't know whether they've reached their peak or not. And I mean, think of it this way: it's really a loss of opportunity if you quit before reaching a peak. So
Exactly.
that's where most of the people fail.
So, do students need coaching or can they prepare themselves for GMAT or GRE?
So if you are on your own, let's say, first thing is finding a structure because preparation would be random. Now, it'll take more time because you don't know you'll not be able to navigate the nuances of it. And your score will be stuck at some point. So with self-prep, I've seen people, reaching 80th, 85th percentile, the top scores. And after that, they need a lot of help to go to a 99th percentile. So with self-prep, it'll take much longer. So 3 months will become 6 months. You'll not even know that it's becoming 6 months. And you'll not be able to hit your peak. So if you can hit your peak, let's say in 3.5 months with help, with the professional help, you can hit a 99th percentile versus yourself in 6 months, you'll hit 85th percentile, let's say. This is the major difference between self-prep and coaching. So if you're happy at 80th or 85th percentile, go for self-prep. Otherwise, take help.
You've also yourself worked for very huge coaching
Right.
centers in Delhi.
The big names.
The big names, yeah. So, are they really worth it?
2-3 things. It majorly depends on your trainer. Okay. If he or she is able to give you that mentorship as to what exactly you lack and what exactly need to work upon, that makes the whole difference. Otherwise, in big companies, the major problem is who will be your trainer and do they have the incentives to, work that heavily with you. So that's the major difference between, let's say, going with an individual or going with a, big name, big prep company. So it all boils down to that level. Majorly, what I've seen is in big companies, trainers do not have the incentive to put that extra effort for you. So that's where the difference lies.
So the teacher matters more than the big names.
Teacher plus what is at stake for him. I mean, do he or she has the incentives to go that extra mile for you?
Right.
It is difficult to find that in big companies. That's the only problem.
So how does GMAT Hub differs from other coaching
So
centers?
GMAT Hub is a smaller setup, first of all. So I take care of all the GMAT and GRE sessions. Okay. So one thing definitely, I mean, I am more interested in the scores that people get, because that's how, we as a business work, we as an institute work, and we really. I mean, one thing that stands out for us is that we give that personalized mentorship to everyone, which definitely goes a long way in achieving their peak. It's not just the scores; it's applications. What should be the strategy? Should they go for round 3? That's a big question for many people. So, or should they target the R1 for the next year? These are very subjective questions which they don't know. So we give an honest guidance based on our experience. That's our USP, definitely.
Okay, any tips, last minute advice to students who are already into the preparation or study abroad?
Prep in advance. If you're chasing deadlines, be mentally prepared to, let's say, miss those in case you don't, things don't go as planned, and apply next round if let's say things are getting delayed. I mean, if you can start, if you're just starting up, give a 1 year grace period to yourself in terms of preparing and then doing the entire process.
Right.
That's the only advice I'll give to everyone.
Do you know what's the difference between a good and a great GMAT or GRE score? It's not talent, and it's definitely not luck. It's mentorship. Most students have the ability. What they're missing is guidance. Someone to guide them, someone to tell them what should they do and how they should do it, and when to stop overthinking. At GMAT Hub, we help you step by step to prepare for GMAT, GRE. We even support you throughout your application process. With focused guidance and unlimited one-on-one doubt sessions every day, many students have prepared for GMAT and GRE within 3 to 4 months, and even within 1 month of preparation. And if you think you are bad at maths or an average student, don't worry. We will help you overcome your weaknesses. We also support you with your application so your hard work lead to success. We have been doing this for over 5 years now, and we have helped 1,500 plus students achieve their goals. If you're confused, stuck, or just need guidance, DM us or book a call, and we will help you figure it out together.